Have you ever felt a heavy weight of guilt after a conversation, even when you knew you did nothing wrong? Or maybe you've been made to feel small, incompetent, or foolish just for expressing an opinion? If so, you might have experienced emotional manipulation. Unlike physical harm, emotional abuse doesn't leave visible bruises. It leaves invisible scars, like a constant, debilitating sense of guilt and a shattered self-worth. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the two most powerful psychological tools manipulators use to control you, and more importantly, how you can reclaim your power. Let's start with the first, and perhaps most common tool, the guilt trigger. This is the manipulator's go-to weapon. They are masters at making you feel responsible for their feelings, their problems, and even their bad behavior. They plant a seed of doubt in your mind, making you question if you're the selfish one, the uncaring one, the one who's always messing things up. How does this sound in real life? It sounds like, if you really loved me, you would do this for me. Or, I can't believe you're choosing to go out with your friends when you know I've had such a hard week. See the pattern? They frame their desires as your moral obligations. They take their own emotional state and hand it to you, saying, "Here, you fix this. If you don't, you're a bad person." This often uses what's called emotional blackmail. They create a fog of fear, obligation, and guilt to make you comply. They know that good, empathetic people hate the feeling of letting someone down. So they exploit that goodness. They make you feel like setting a boundary is an act of aggression, that saying no is an act of cruelty. So, how do you defuse this guilt bomb? The key is to create a mental firewall. First, you must recognize the trigger phrase. Anytime you hear, "if you really cared," or "after all I've done for you," or any sentence that makes you feel instantly responsible for another adult's happiness, a red flag should go up. Pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, their feelings are their responsibility. My feelings are my responsibility. Your script to shut this down is simple, calm, and firm. You don't need to argue or defend yourself. You just need to state your boundary. For example, if they say, "You never have time for me anymore," instead of listing all the times you were there, which just invites an argument, try saying, "I understand you feel that way, and I'm sorry you're feeling neglected. However, I need this evening for myself." Or if they say, "I can't believe you won't help me. I'd do it for you," you can respond with, "I appreciate you would do that for me, but I am not able to do that right now." Notice you're not accepting the blame. You're acknowledging their feeling. "I understand you feel that way," without accepting responsibility for it. This is crucial. It separates their emotional experience from your actions. You are not a bad person for having needs. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. In fact, it's the healthiest thing you can do for the relationship and for yourself. Mastering this is the first step to becoming immune to the guilt trigger. Now let's move on to the second, more insidious tactic, the Narcissus Mirror. This is a direct attack on your ego and self-worth. The name comes from the myth of Narcissus, who fell in love with his own reflection. A manipulator who uses this tactic wants you to see a distorted, ugly reflection of yourself. They want to be the only source of your validation. This tactic chips away at your confidence, piece by piece, until you start to believe their negative narrative about you. It's the constant, subtle jabs disguised as jokes. It's the backhanded compliments that leave you feeling confused and small. For example, "Wow, you actually look really nice today," implying you usually don't. Or, "That was a surprisingly smart idea for you," suggesting you're normally not that bright. They will also belittle your accomplishments. You get a promotion, and they say, "Oh, they must have been desperate for staff." You share a passion project, and they yawn and say, "That's a nice little hobby, I guess." They dismiss your feelings as being too sensitive or dramatic. They question your memory of events, a technique known as gaslighting, making you think you're going crazy. "That never happened," they'll say with absolute certainty. You're imagining things again. The goal of the Narcissus Mirror is to make you dependent. If they can convince you that you're incompetent, unlovable, and unintelligent, who else would want you? You'll start to rely on them for everything, for approval, for decisions, for your sense of reality. You become trapped, not by physical chains, but by the belief that you're not good enough to leave. They become the sun, and you're just a planet orbiting their ego, desperate for a little bit of their light. So, how do you shatter the Narcissus Mirror? The first and most powerful tool you have is self-validation. You must become your own source of worth. Start by keeping a record. Write down your accomplishments, no matter how small. Note the compliments you receive from other healthy people in your life. When the manipulator tries to gaslight you, write down what actually happened. This journal becomes your anchor to reality. It's your proof that the reflection they're showing you is a lie. When they throw a verbal jab, don't engage with the insult. Instead, call out the behavior. If they say, "That was a dumb thing to say," instead of defending your statement, you can calmly say, "Please don't speak to me that way," or "I don't appreciate being called dumb." This shifts the focus from the content of your words to the disrespect of theirs. You're refusing to look in their distorted mirror. Surround yourself with people who reflect your true self back to you. Spend time with friends and family who build you up, who celebrate your wins, and who listen to your feelings without judgment. Their healthy reflections will help you see the manipulator's mirror for what it is, a warped and broken piece of glass designed to keep you trapped. The more you believe in your own worth, the less power their insults have. They become like water off a duck's back. Recognizing these two tactics, the guilt trigger and the Narcissus Mirror, is like being given a map out of a maze. At first, it's confusing. The manipulator will likely escalate their behavior when they feel their control slipping. They might lay the guilt on thicker or make their insults more cutting. This is a sign that what you're doing is working. It's about realizing that you are not responsible for managing another person's emotions. It's about understanding that your worth is not up for debate. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not control and fear. You deserve to feel safe, respected, and valued for who you are. If you recognize these patterns in your life, please know you're not alone, and it's not your fault. Breaking free from emotional manipulation is a journey, and it takes courage. Sometimes, the safest and healthiest step is to distance yourself or even end the relationship. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please consider speaking with a therapist or a counselor. They can provide professional guidance and a safe space to help you rebuild your confidence and enforce your boundaries. Your emotional well-being is paramount. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope this has shed some light on a topic that often stays in the shadows. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content on building a healthier, happier life. Drop a comment below if you've ever experienced this. Sharing your story can empower others. Stay strong, and remember, you hold the power.